Alright, so boom. Welcome back to Kicking It with the Kings.
All right.
It's been a minute, but we're here now, so let's talk.
Tonight, we're going to have a candid conversation about when pebbles turn into boulders.
So what do you mean when you say when pebbles turn into boulders?
So pretty much it means when small little problems or issues in your marriage, in your relationship, become these huge boulders that can no longer be ignored. So as pebbles, it's easy to walk right over a pebble. It's easy to step on pebbles, right, and not even feel it. But a boulder is something that you cannot bypass. Imagine a boulder in your way, in your path, right? There is no way to get around a boulder
At all.
and so the only way to get through it is by chiseling at it, chipping at it, and also not by yourself. Because if you're chipping at it by yourself, you're going to be there forever. Right? So it's important to do it with your partner. You can't break a boulder down by yourself.
Right.
You need a partner. But pebbles can be easily picked up and examined on your own, right? And so with that boulder being in your path, you have a choice. You can chip at it, you can chisel at it with your partner, or you can turn around and go back. And a lot of the times people choose to turn around and go back because even looking at the boulder is painful.
Right. So much work that you know you have to do. So sometimes it seems easier to turn away and go back. But if you ever want to move forward, if you ever want to get past it with that person, like, you got to get through the boulder. So walking away doesn't solve the problem. The boulder will always be there.
Right.
And if you're used to walking away from that boulder, and say you start a new relationship, who's to say if boulders become something and grow into boulders, you're going to do the same things. You're just going to be traveling, walking back and forth, walking away. And that's not going to help you. Sometimes the things that seem the easiest will make things harder for you in the long run. So
that reminds me of a post that I posted on Instagram recently. And it says, we have created lives that agree and cope with our pain rather than address it. Your suffering may not feel good, but it feels safe.
Right.
Give up your idea of safety in order to experience healing. So let me read that first one again. We have created lives that agree with and cope with our pain rather than address it. So we have created lives that agree with this boulder that's in the way. So we have learned how to navigate life with the boulder sitting there, right smack dab in the middle of your marriage. You have created a life with your partner, with your spouse, that agrees with that elephant in the room, that agrees with the boulder, that agrees with the core issue. You have created a life that navigates so well.
It's like the boulder doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's like the boulder doesn't exist, but it does exist.
Right.
It does exist, but you're living life and you're doing marriage with your partner as if this boulder doesn't exist really.
Yeah.
But
it reminds me of like when your smoke detector has been going off so long, it beeps.
Beeping.
Yeah, because you need the batteries changed. At least this has happened for me, and it goes on so long that it blends in. You don't hear it anymore until somebody else.
You tune it out.
You tune it out until somebody else brings it up. And with the boulder, how you just said, like, people work their lives around this boulder, keeping it there. You don't see what lies beyond the boulder.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The boulder is in the middle of your path, meaning the path continues to go, so you can never see and grow and see what else is there because it's boulder. And somebody's either gonna be walking on eggshells, tippy-toeing, going back and forth with the same argument. Somebody's gonna be swallowing their own pride or just keeping in something in order to not address the thing. And then that's gonna eventually pop. It's gonna come out, it's gonna pop, and then it's not gonna be good when it comes out, because it's gonna be built up stuff. Eventually the boulder is gonna make itself known at some point again in your marriage.
So pretty much this conversation came about as a result of us watching the most recent This Is Us episode. If you guys don't watch it, go back and watch it. But this is where this conversation was birthed out of. The last episode, there was a huge explosion, a fight between this married couple. And this was a fight that they kept having in different ways. It would show up in different ways, but it was the same fight. It was the same boulder. It was about the same boulder, but it would show up in different ways, right? And so,
yeah, the boulder came from the little pebbles that were growing throughout the season. Even throughout the seasons, the little pebbles that were growing. So when it became clear that there was an ongoing issue, it was a boulder by that time. You know what I'm saying? And at this episode, everything exploded.
Yeah.
Everything exploded.
And if you guys are curious about the couple that we're talking about, it's Kate and Toby. If you watch the show, it's Kate and Toby. Yeah. So they have had numerous pebbles throughout this entire season. Pebbles on top of pebbles. And as we know, pebbles don't stay pebbles, right? Pebbles, it's almost like a snowball effect. The pebbles rolling down and turning into these huge boulders. And in this episode, the boulder was so big that they could no longer ignore it. They could no longer go around it. They could no longer continue to live their life as if this boulder did not exist.
Right.
And in this episode, something specific happened. Something so symbolic happened with the ceiling. There was a leak that was not addressed earlier in the season, a leak that was not properly fixed, that was not properly attuned to earlier in the season, that went, I don't want to say ignored, but it went.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, yeah. And in the last episode, this leak caved the ceiling in. So, in this last episode, the leak originated in the kitchen. And then, before they knew it, it was in the bedroom, but it wasn't a leak anymore. It caved the ceiling in.
Right. Because the leak wasn't addressed in the original place, which are like pebbles. So in this episode, other things happened that caused, this was the first thing that broke, which literally after this, it just kept rolling downhill until they had an argument outside that everything just let loose to a point where they may not be able to come back from. But the leak itself is symbolic of the pebbles. The leak wasn't taken care of, I don't know if it was months, years, whatever, when it was supposed to be taken care of. And then where it caved the ceiling and where it exploded and let loose was somewhere that nobody would have ever thought, because it was somewhere that wasn't seen. It was started in the kitchen. And then even as it's leaking in the kitchen, they hear a crash in the bedroom because that leaked and let out. Nobody would ever thought to check there. But pebbles becoming boulders is the same thing. All these pebbles are building up. You think they're just here in one spot. You never know how they'll affect another spot. and they may blow in that spot before it blows up at where it originated at. So
yeah, and even thinking about the symbolism in the places in the house, it originated in the kitchen, right? And it went to their bedroom, where they do not. Where am I trying to go? Their bedroom. God help me. It went to their bedroom. The ceiling in their bedroom caved in, literally right over their bed.
Right.
Something that literally could not be ignored anymore. In their bed.
Right.
This issue was right where they lay.
The root.
Right where they lay. And that is the root, because they both felt disconnected.
Ooh. Even where it started was the kitchen. A lot of times the kitchen is a family place. You know what I'm saying? And the outside things were the family. Their issues just started around the family. We're making these changes for the family, but we're having issues because these changes are affecting the family. But the root is, where does the family start?
Yeah.
Husband and wife.
Yeah.
So that's where it came. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if the writer, if that was on purpose.
I don't think so.
I mean,
that was good.
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying, but that's what pebbles can do. You know what I'm saying?
When pebbles go ignored, when pebbles go unaddressed.
Right.
And even thinking about that, and how I said sometimes even looking at that boulder could be so painful and uncomfortable. And that's because, when we're activated, we're not operating from our aware adults, but we're operating from our hurt children, our wounded children, right? We are all wounded children when we do not choose to heal from our trauma, when we do not choose to address those boulders that are right in front of us. We operate as wounded children.
Right.
And so what we want you guys to take from this candid conversation is check your pebbles.
Check your pebbles. All of your pebbles. If something keeps coming up that is bothering you, that is taking something away from you,
no matter how small, don't hold it in because you're following the saying, don't sweat the small stuff.
No, that's out, that's dated, that doesn't help. Check your pebbles. And this is not something we're telling you that we haven't done. I personally had to check pebbles before we even knew what check the pebbles was. Like in the smallest things. Like if we have an issue, or if Neek says something or does something I'm not comfortable with and it stays, I have to say something. You know what I'm saying?
Or else it's going to turn into a boulder.
It'll turn into me assuming this is how it's going to be, and turn to me, hold on, and you never want to resent the person that you're with, especially not your spouse. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to look at her and everything she does starts to annoy me just because I ignored this one pebble.
Right.
So no matter how hard it is to address the pebble, it's going to be 10 times harder to chisel through that boulder.
Yeah.
So just check your pebbles.
Check your pebbles. Thanks for kicking it.